Good glorious day to you folks. It's your humble homesteader friend from Canada coming to you on this beautiful fall day. I just finished spreading a thin, very thin dusting layer of ash on my black currants and blackberries and some raspberries. And I thought I would take advantage of this one of the last remaining nice sunny days that I can be out without a jacket, and gloves and hat, to record a video for you on. I was thinking perhaps community, but before that I want to say that I hope you're well where you're watching this from, and I'm assuming that if you're here on this channel, channel, you are either interested in possibly making a lifestyle change to this sort of life, or are just curious as to what's involved and how I'm doing, how I'm managing, what my chores are. So I wanted to say I hope you're well wherever you're watching this from. Sometimes I forget how bad things were for me when I lived in the city for over 4 decades, and I forget now that I'm here. And so I apologize for not having asked that or said that before, but I hope you're well wherever you are. So community. It is an election year, and my understanding is, some of you already know, I'm not on social media, and I'm not. I don't keep track of the news, especially the mainstream media, but really any news. I stopped doing that maybe 8 years ago. It's all bad news anyway, so I thought, what's the point? But I have neighbors who are on social media, even though they're fairly, we're fairly remote. We are. I will mention that another time, but we are a sort of a neighborhood, an all-organic neighborhood of now 74 people. Whereas when we first moved here, now into our 11th year, there were 27 of us. 27, 74. Well, anyway, that's, yeah, but that's not even over the past 11 years. That's in the span of only 5, 6 years. The population growth, I suppose, everywhere, but as people are escaping the cities, which is, I'm going to tie into this election year thing. My understanding is from my neighbors who are keeping track of the news and whatever, is that this is an election year, not just across Canada or the States, which probably means the most to most people. It will affect most people around the globe, but really around the globe, countries are going into elections. And some people are up in arms over what it means and how things are going to change. Some panicking that it's going to be worse. Some panicking that it's about time. Change is due. I don't really care. To me, I stopped voting decades ago. I used to vote for the Green Party for a couple of decades, almost 2 decades. And then I stopped once their policies changed and they started being close enough to the rest of the parties and not doing what they were supposed to be doing, which was the environment, the human rights, alternative to Western medicine, that kind of thing. So I couldn't support them anymore. Now, our particular region, since I think 1850, 1860, yeah, around the time of abolition or slavery and Underground Railroad started, people started coming to our particular neighborhood, and the Underground Railroad ended, I think, here. This was a destination. When I say here, it was about a half an hour drive from where we are. And I think it was 1850, 1860. Some of you who are history buffs know it. You can let me know. I like to know. I don't have the time to go and search it. That's 10 years is close enough. And can you see this bumblebee? By the way, I don't know if you know, bumblebees don't want to sting you. Same for regular bees, as much as they can, because they only get one chance. Once they sting you, they die. So I'm surprised to see this little guy here. I mean, they're very loud. Where'd you go? Took off. Look at all these flowers. Where are you going? It's all here. It's a buffet. Oh no, he didn't go. There's another one. It's right behind me. Our neighborhood, yeah. So Underground Railroad, Laura Secord. What was that child's name? I can't think of her name right now, but anyway. So every time there was a conflict somewhere else, in particular in the States, people moved here to this neighborhood. And last time that happened, one of the later times was during the 1969 Vietnam War. A lot of people came here from New York. And there's a family that's still here. They have 500 acres, about 15 minutes away from us. And they've been here for since 1972, something like that. When they were trying to avoid going to war, being drafted. And they're a very prominent family and very liked around here and respected. So now that the election's happening again, and some people are trying to escape their possible demise or whatever, I don't know what they're expecting, and there are people are looking, you might be looking for researching, looking for communities, off-grid, not off-grid, rural, country, I don't know what else, whatever else that you're looking for, let me know. So I thought this would be a opportune time. I don't know about opportune time. This would be a good time to share with you my experience and what I've learned over the years of when it comes to community, my exposure, and when I did some research throughout the years, I've noticed that this is for the most part the majority and not an exception. And I'll tell you what that is. By the way, have you ever heard of Pythagoras? Yeah, the Greek guy with the triangle. Look him up. He was a cult leader. I mean, this community thing goes back. It's not the 60s thing where people, with the communes and hanging out together, burning bras, and it's not a new age thing. It goes back thousands of years. So you really should do your research into what any one particular community is like before you bet the farm on it and sell your place and load your belongings and travel across the country or to another country or across the globe. Because my experiences so far has been not good. this is why I want to start my own. I'm not in a community right now, but I do know one close by that's like that, very dysfunctional. Now, well, while I'm here, I might as well tell you about that particular community. A fellow who is independently wealthy is how he was described, not by me, but by others, and it makes sense to me now that I know more about him and whatever. He inherited a decent chunk of change, and then he started to. He read some books, and he was already all romanticizing things, and bought some land and started to give it away. Now, I say give it away, not give it away, not give it away. So even though he says no ifs, ands, or buts, this thing is, he's controlling a lot of what's going on there, and that's fine. I just don't want people, my argument is I don't want people to think that, oh, they're coming here to this community, wherever it is, and they're going to have some land, 2.5 acres of land, and then everything's going to be, wow, all for free. And then at the end of the day, people hold hands and sing Kumbaya. It's not like that at all. There are restrictions, though he doesn't talk about them. And he doesn't see them as restrictions, but it's basically what he wants. Now it's okay. This is actually one of my pet peeves. Some of the biggest conservatives that I've seen are actually liberals, and if I can explain, they say they're well read, they're learned, they're well traveled, they're cultured, they're whatever, but you should see how they talk when it comes to the opposition, whatever the opposition is, in anything basically, be it vaccines, governments, whatever that is that's not in there, that what they don't think should be, or how it should be, or who should be doing it. They're just so violent, as opposed to some of the conservatives that I see. I'm gaining respect for actual conservatives that call themselves conservatives. Is that they say who they are, and this is it. They don't make any apologies for it, and you can see it is. You can see, you know who you're dealing with, the devil that you know, if you will. Whereas opposed to those folks that call themselves liberals, and they're really actually the biggest conservatives ever in disguise. So then, anyway, back to this guy. He says no ifs, ands, and buts. So he's opened the door to everyone without letting them know the difficulties of being here, in that sort of a community. That is, you cannot be by yourself. You cannot be a single. Find a friend, find a partner, whatever. But life is hard enough. You can't manage everything on your own. How are you going to build a house? For instance, let's talk about shelter. When the pioneers came here 300 years ago, here in the States, they came and they had a very small window of time to cut down trees, and they didn't have power tools either, with axes or whatever little hand tools that they had. The husband and wife, they probably had little ones too. They were trying to escape their whatever country that they're from, and they had to build this log cabin. And then it's not like they say, well, this year we'll build our log cabin, and next year we'll plant a garden so we can eat off of that. They had to do everything immediately, and it was very difficult. Sometimes we watch movies that it's a big pet peeve of mine. You see a Hollywood movie that it shows some people a hardship of where they're living, and then they pick up and go to the States mostly, or Canada, and then life is hard, and the winters are harsh, or the ground needs plowing. How do you do it? They do it by hand. They don't have money for a horse or oxen or blah blah blah. But 2/3 into the movie, things turn around, everything's good, and by the end of the movie, it's all good. So in an hour and a half, you watch a movie for an hour and a half, at the end of it, it's all good. What you remember is the ending. What you don't remember is that they're fast forwarding a lot of the hardship of living a lifestyle that you've never lived before, where for instance, I'm here and I offer my services as an off-grid coach, and if anyone that comes here, I connect them to trustworthy home builders, or where you can get your lumber from a local lumber yard or a local sawmill, or who's trustworthy to hire for you to do whatever, chainsaw, whatever you need. Where to get what, at what price, when is a good time, what the timeline should be. Now you do this, now you do that. First you do this, first, second you do that. All these things that you don't know. But when you go to a place and you don't know anyone, and you can't, and you shouldn't be imposing on others to say, hey, I'm new here, help me build a house, babysit for me while I go to work. My car broke down. That's one of the other things. Your car is your second most important thing, because if you're in a rural, remote location, you need to come with a dependable car. So this guy, this founder of this community, is not telling people that you need to come with a decent chunk of change to buy the material. Even if, so for instance, if I offer a plot of land for someone to build on, I'm never saying it's free to them. They can just build their home on it. It's never theirs, right off the bat. And I could say, here are I will give you some trees for you to build your log cabin with, no problem. They can do that. That's for free. I may even lend them a hand building it. That would be kind of for free, because I would also expect a hand in return for when I need things done. When I will make a video of my ideal community that I want to start if I'm ever able to sell this place and move to somewhere with bigger land. And that's one of the things that would be, everybody would have to contribute in some major way. A few years ago, an elder neighbor, really the only one that's older than me, but by much more, my mother's age, she said that in a community, a real community, you give more than you take. You give more than you take. That makes perfect sense to me. It's like when you go to a potluck, you cook enough for your family, and maybe one or two portions more to share with others. And then if there's anything left over, you can ask someone else if they want your leftover for their leftover, because you already know, that's the meal that you like, you've already tried, but you can always make it. But someone else's meal, that dish that you like so much, it's not something that you know, or maybe you don't want to ask for a recipe, so maybe you can exchange it. But my point is, you don't show up to a potluck with less food than your own family. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's happening at that so-called community, the dysfunctional community. And it's called a dysfunctional community, in fact, by one of their own members. Hilarious. And yet people are coming because they're having a hard time where they are at, and they're not thinking clearly. Like I said, or about the car, he's not telling them, look, when you come here, you can't come with a rust bucket because you're many kilometers, many miles away from town. If you're working, or if you're going shopping, your car breaks down, what are you going to do? Nobody here is able to help someone else build a house, lend a car, give someone a ride, because we're all basically pioneers. When you come out in your neighborhood, you can't expect someone else to do things for you. And in fact, when I start my own community, if I'm ever able to, I would say exactly that. I would say you need to have some cash with you to pay for your house. I mean, logs, I can provide that for free. But what about the bolts? What about the tools? What about the roof? If you go with whatever roof you go, I think metal roof is best. That's what I've used. But what about windows? You can maybe find some on the side of the road, but I mean, how well would they be insulated? Your flooring, the ceiling, the lighting. If you go off grid like we are now, but not Amish, You need solar panels, batteries, charge controllers. I don't know, inverters, lots of cables, copper cables. Nothing's cheap and nothing's free. So how are you going to pay for that? Your car breaks down. How are you going to fix it? Who is going to take you to the garage to have it fixed? He's not mentioning any of these to people. So people are arriving and they're already from a bad place. My point, I'm trying to make is that don't go from, one fire to another fire just because one fire is in the city and the other fire is in the rural. Fire's fire. You're going to burn. It's just different aspects to it. Find out what it is that you want. For instance, but before that, you should know that there is no perfect place to live. As far as I know, if there is, they're probably not telling anyone. And if they did tell people, which I know there isn't, everybody would be living there, right? Why isn't everybody living somewhere where it's perfect, a utopia? And if there was, and everybody lived it, then it wouldn't be perfect anymore, because people are going to bring their attitudes and the human nature and the me versus we, which is what West is all about. We've been told that you're an individual, it's all about you, you're unique. There's a meme I read a few years ago. It said, "You're unique, just like everyone else." So when you go to a community intentionally, you should go with the mindset that you're going to do more. You're going to offer more. You're going to be a better version of yourself wherever you came from, not worse. Don't anyone that's going to have the entitlement feeling, or people should do things for me, or I'm entitled to have this and you have to look after my animals while I'm away, or or disrespectful, or any of these things, noisy. They're not welcome. I'm saying it right now. As opposed to this guy that has that community. He's saying everyone's welcome, no screening. Screening is very important. Screening isn't, oh, you're black, or you have blue eyes, or you're too short or you're too tall. That's not screening. Screening means for the better of the actual people to say, don't come if you're not spiritually ready. Life is hard enough in the rural when you come with nothing, not spiritually ready, not financially ready, not physically ready. How are you going to live? How are you going to survive? No one else is going to help you. I don't want this to sound like a negative video. This is meant to help you. If you're in a bad place, I want you to think about what you're potentially getting yourself into. Don't go from a bad place to a worse place, because where you live now, you might have some parents or friends or something that you might, I don't know, ask for some kind of assistance, or maybe a shoulder to cry on, or something. Here, or when you go to a rural in that community that I'm talking about, you're not going to really have any of that. And like I said, people are busy at best trying to manage their own lives, because everyone's new. I mean, even if people that have been living here for more than one generation, they have their own things to do, and they're not in a community. Obviously, they have their own places, so they're not even near you. My closest neighbor to me, the elderly lady that I help from time to time, she is about 300-400 feet. She's just across the road, but just by the virtue of vastness of the country, she's 300-400 feet away from me. Where we are now, there's 74 of us. We live on mostly private and some sort of a land trust on something, a minimum of 500 acres. I don't know if you know what 500 acres is. You can imagine it. It's like 100 acres is what a big city neighborhood would be like. So 5 times of that. 500 gets 200 hectares. It works out to. I don't know the conversion, but whatever. So sometimes people don't even know if you fall and you trip, or something happens to you, you get hurt if you're by yourself, or worse, if you're here with a little one. That's even worse. And who's going to look after your little one when you go to work? If you have to go to work, if you have to do your gardening, if you have to bring your firewood in, these are all to not screen these people and say everyone's welcome. It's like saying everyone's welcome to suffer, not needlessly. Anyway, so you look, search. If you absolutely have to, go and visit a community that you've narrowed down to and live there. I don't mean a day or two or a month or two, because during that time, the people that live in that community might be on their best behavior and you may not see it. Or it might be beautiful, sunny time of the year and everything's good. Not thinking that, there's going to be a winter, literally and metaphorically. Winter as in hard times, and winter as in harsh actual winters, when everyone's like cocooning inside their homes and you're all depressed because you don't know, where do I go, how do I get to someone's house, it's kind of far, can't walk, can't really drive, because the worst thing you can do to your car, if your car was even good, is in the winter, is to start it and drive for 5 minutes and shut it off again. Because it hasn't had time to burn off the carbon buildup that's on the cylinders or the valves. So these are things that this guy and no one tells you. That's why I'm coaching folks that want to make the transition to this sort of a lifestyle. And it'll cost you regardless. You can pay someone, a local guide or someone like me, to tell you everything you need to know, or as much as you can handle, as much as they know, they'll share their experiences. Or you can move to a place and learn it the hard way. One will cost you maybe $100 or so. One will cost you maybe $500,000 to $1 million or so for all the mistakes that you make, and then you're not able to recoup your losses. But that's up to you. I'm just saying, be careful. Well, I was saying there's no perfect place to live. I have relatives, lots of relatives that live in California. Santa Barbara, LA, Irvine, San Francisco, and in between. So everyone, these are legendary places to live, and sunny. But I myself didn't know until just a year or so ago that temperature really drops at night there. And so when I talk to my brother, for instance, and I see how he's dressed sometimes, and at night, and they don't have insulation in their homes for whatever reason. The walls are cold to touch. So you think Canada's cold, especially at night, excuse me. But you never think California is cold. Well, California was a desert 150 years ago. That's what he said to me. I love knowing these little facts. I didn't know that. You always think California is hot all the time. It's not. Nighttime temperature drops because it's a desert. Temperature drops a lot. Morning is still cool to recover. By noon, it's hot. And then you talk about the cost of living. How expensive is it to live in Orange County or anywhere in California, San Francisco? Then you think about the crime rate. You can see, look everything, all the facts that I'm telling you about online, probably wherever you do your search query. What's one other thing I was going to say? The rent. If you're not buying a property, what's the rent like over there? What's the food cost like over there? What's the insurance cost like over there? When we moved here from just another province in Canada, our insurance went down by 2/3. What is the California's population is the same as entire Canada, whatever that is, 30-40 million. Just as many people live in California as all of Canada. Now listen to this. Listen, literally listen. Do you think it's going to be this quiet over there? What I'm trying to say is that find out what it is that you want. Do you want cheap? For instance, here you can, like in our particular neighborhood, you can buy land for 15,000 an acre. You drive hour and a half south, the land goes up to an hour and a half south and farther. So as you get closer to the coast, land prices go up to 50,000, 60,000, maybe even $100,000 an acre. But also there, like 3 hours south of us, they have something called a hurricane season. You may have heard what's happened to Florida and the tornadoes and that just very recently. That's something we don't have 3 hours north of there, and the land prices are cheaper. Similarly, from where we are, if you're willing to drive somewhere even more secluded, you can get land for $1,000 an acre. I wouldn't suggest you do that. That's way isolated. But if that's what you want, if price of land, cheap land, is all you have on your mind, and you think you can handle the rest of it, that's what you do. If you don't, if you have enough money to move to California with however number of millions of dollars, and you're willing to put up with the noise and the cost of living and all that stuff, that's what you do. If you want, if some people, for some, I don't understand it. Some people like to go to Alaska, and we have what I used to belong to Canada before we sold it to the States, before we were talked into selling it to them. We have Yukon, which is basically the same place, neighboring, Yellowknife, whatever. Some people want to live somewhere like that. I never understood that. It's like those those survival shows that you see, the helicopter people, and they drop them there, and then they take off in the middle of nowhere, and they don't even have the know-how to survive. It's insane. But anyway, there you are. People want to go somewhere like that, and they love it. They love being so far away from everything. And then they have grizzlies over there. We have bears here, but I've only seen two in my just over 11 years. And black bears are not violent or dangerous or vicious or whatever. And I suppose grizzlies aren't either, if they don't feel threatened. But yeah, we don't have anything like that here. Or in California, some places they have venomous snakes. We have snakes here, they're garden snakes, only about this thick, and they're not venomous. And what else? What else? I'm trying to tell you something. Okay, let's forget about California. California is a. I would maybe live somewhere in California, but not where everyone else lives. But I know that it's just, when you think about the logistics of it, the immigration, the maybe prejudice, whatever it is, I don't need it. And the currency exchange. Our Canadian dollar is about 25% less than the U.S. I don't understand it, but that's one of the reasons some people are talking about U.S. currency collapsing after November. I don't know, but it should have never been worth as much as it is, but it is. So I don't see it changing. It's going to take a lot before the U.S. currency collapses. What was it? Oh yeah, so let's talk about the islands. Like, I hear some people going to Costa Rica and places like that. Okay, what do they have over there? Let's talk. We know what's good about Costa Rica and the islands and the Caribbeans. We already know what's good. You've seen all the movies. But what you don't know, what you don't think about when you think about those places, is the hurricanes. And you know, the current, there's if you don't believe me, just look it up. I'm sure you believe me. But we're having more hurricanes, so frequency of them, and the harshness of them, with the force, the hurricane forces, that whatever that they use to measure it, more often and harsher. That's number one. Then they have all these parasites that you have to deal with. Then you have all these other. My whole point is that nowhere is perfect. Find out what it is that you want and what you can live with, and then talk to your family and friends, co-workers. Find out, brainstorm, see what they think. Maybe they have a different point of view. That maybe they have a different angle that you haven't considered. If you are in the market, or if you're looking to move to Canada or New Brunswick, or even in particular our region, let me know, and I will help you as much as I can. But as like you, everybody has expenses and everybody has to eat. So keep that in mind. But it will be cheaper moving somewhere, knowing what to expect, as opposed to uncharted territory. I think that's all I was going to say for today. I do have more work to do while the sun is out and the sky. I don't see a single cloud. I'll show you before I turn this off. You can see how blue it is. I mean, it's blue and clear because Canada, the province of New Brunswick, our state, let's call it, is the same size in terms of square kilometers or square miles, whatever, as Switzerland. But where Switzerland's population is over 9 million people, New Brunswick's population is about 800,000 people. So under a million. Not even, maybe 1/10, less than 1/10. So it's no wonder the air is so much clearer, just no traffic or industry, especially where we live. For us, that was the deciding factor. Cost of living, less people. One thing before I forget. Some of the folks that are panicking now is because they're talking about that after the new U.S. election or whatever, or not just here, in other countries, there's going to be mayhem or some kind of apocalypse or economic collapse, or banks are going to, whatever. I already heard a neighbor couldn't take $3,000 out of her account, out of her savings account, and the bank was giving them a hard time. Well, obviously they take your money, give you no interest, and they lend it to businesses and mortgage borrowers and that for a much higher rate. And then when you go and say, I want my money, they don't have it to give it to you because they've invested it somewhere. That's how banks work. You don't like it, don't give them your money. But anyway, so they're saying there's going to be some kind of such destruction or whatever, civil unrest. I don't know. They've been talking about that for I don't know how many hundreds of years. If you're one of the folks that's worried about such a thing, you should one thing you should keep in mind is that you want to be away from masses. You want to be away from large cities. Just as an example, one of the reasons why we moved here, we're not close to any large body of water. Like I said, we're 3 hours away from the ocean. Now, when I say we're 3 hours away, if this is the ocean, it's not like we're 3 hours away here. We're 3 hours away here at a much higher elevation. And even from where we are, you can still go another 2,000 feet. When we hike with our neighbors up the ridge, up and down, it takes us less than 2 hours. So it's not the hike. It's a gorgeous hike. I've taped some, and I have some videos that you could see. But you want to be away from masses. So our little village here is 45 minutes, a minimum of 45 minutes, depending on how fast you go, drive. That's not a city speed of 60 kilometers. That's like, on average, 100 kilometer an hour. If you're driving for 100 kilometers for 45 minutes, you reach the next town, the next actual town. And this town's population is 5,000 to 6,000 people. Can you call that a town? For some people, that's called a village. Now, from there, if you drive another 45 minutes south, that's when you reach the capital of New Brunswick, Fredericton. And there's only 70,000, 80,000 people for population. Do you see what I'm saying? How far we've distanced ourselves from the masses? So if you want to live wherever you're living now, if you live in the city now, if you want to live somewhere safer, away from the masses, in case there's all that apocalypse and people are going to come, you've seen the movies. Let's not make this into a horror video. You want to be, the bigger the city is, the more populated a city is, the farther you want to be away from it. Do you know what I'm saying? So if there's a city of 1 million people, you want to maybe be away an hour to 2 hours away from them. If a city is a city of 10 million, then you want to maybe be 6 hours away from them. You know what I mean? From that city. that kind of thing. Do your own search. Figure out what it is that's scaring you that into thinking something like that might happen. And then one other big thing is that if you've really decided that this shit's gonna hit the fan, or whatever the term that they're using, don't dilly-dally. Don't delay. The time, as like the trees, they say the time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is now, today, right now. So the time for you to move out of city, if you're worried about such a thing, was 10 years ago, like when we did. Only we didn't have the resources to get to the self-sufficiency part because the cost. And remember the cost, that's why I'm talking about the screening. You need money to be self-sufficient. I suppose regardless of where you go, because where here we can't really grow here outside, obviously in Canada. I don't think anywhere in Canada. But if you go to the islands, you can. But then, can you, because of the hurricanes and that, it will destroy your crop, or the torrential rains and whatever. So really, you have to grow inside, and every structure costs money. I think you know that. But anyway, go back to what I was saying about the time to do it. If you've decided that you need to get out of town, so to speak, get out of town right now. After you finish watching this video, start your search. Write down what it is you want to, where you want to go, what's important to you. Talk to your spouses, family, kids, friends, whatever. Maybe even pool your resources. You can together. Maybe you can buy some land. So then, if you don't need to have a huge parcel of land, maybe you can buy a small, maybe you can buy 3 acres of land, and you can share it with your friends or family or co-workers or whatever, and then you all come together to build a log cabin or whatever, because that seems to be possibly the fastest. And if it's forested like it is here, you have the trees. Build it, all live together, and then next year build another house, and then you move to, the families can separate and each live in their own places, do you know what I mean, and so on. But don't delay. Don't be thinking, well, I think the world's ending in November, but in the next 5 years, I think I'm going to move out of town. That makes no sense. That saying, that approach makes no sense. You need to get out today. Secure your land at the very least, so that I remember during the pandemic, people were buying land in New Brunswick so they could move to New Brunswick from other provinces, because otherwise our border was closed. Because our population is so small, the government wouldn't let anyone cross the provincial borders from other provinces, and so the only way to get here was if they had a deed to a property, land, whatever, and that's how they could cross the border. So people were just buying they did really well by doing that, because within a year after that, they doubled the prices of the cost of what they paid if they didn't already move. And then since then, it's doubled again. And land is something that, folks, is going to go up in price. I hear people buying gold bullions and silver rounds or whatever to trade when things go awry. I don't understand why if I have wheat, or if I have chickens, or if I have meat, or if I have vegetables, why I would take someone's gold or silver and give them my food. Can I eat that silver and gold? How do I? Who would you? I don't understand it. I really the logic. I'm like, it's today. If someone wanted to buy some land from me, hopefully, if they're nice people and I agree, then they can buy it. But come that time, if something like that should happen, I'm not going to be selling any land to anyone, because first of all, how are they going to, if say they come to my house with cash, suitcases of cash, say, here, take my cash, I want your land. What am I going to do with cash if cash is worthless? Do you know what I'm saying? The time to secure your future is today. wherever you're going, don't delay. If you believe that the world's going to come to an end in November, a year from now, or 5 years from now, hurry up. What do you? And you know the the price of land is going to go up, because the very least people are moving in from other countries, or whatever, to this, in particular to the safety of Canada, and our currency is so low, and so builders are going to be building. Builders don't have a they're not printing their own money like the governments. They don't printing their own land. They have to buy the land from somewhere, and the landowners or eventually going to say, no, that's too low. I want more and more and more. So the home builders, they don't care. They just pay whatever the landowners want. They'll just increase the price of the houses. And so regardless, I think prices of things are going to go up, but in particular land, because land is something everyone wants. Let's look at why land is so important. Land is important because you can literally live on it. You can literally grow on it. Like you see all these raised beds. You can share it with someone if you want. You can plant trees on it. Like the governments are, in particular government of Canada, but I think every government now is planting trees. They want land to plant trees on. Then these big corporations, if nothing happens, at worst possible, we can say nothing, everything remains as it is. Well, all these large corporations, polluters, whatever, in particular now with all the advent of AI that uses so much more power than like regular search engines or cloud would. Excuse me. So they're going to need all these. They're going to need place to put these giant data centers or giant storage places. And more than that, that's just the land portion. But more than that, they're going to have to offset their carbon footprint by buying carbon credits. So you're a landowner, you have a forest like this, and so they're going to come to you and say, we'll pay you because pretty much everything we have here now is carbon neutral. Because for one, we hardly ever buy anything new. So right away, it's already carbon neutral before we buy it. But if we don't already have it and we have to buy it, we buy it used or whatever. So we have a net, what do they call it, net gain or whatever. Our carbon footprint is way below what ours should be. We're in the plus, whereas theirs is so and gaining. I'm not even talking about the Paris Accord or whatever that the targets that they have to meet. They're not going to meet that now with AI. But all I'm saying is that they're going to buy credits. They have to buy credits from someone. So that someone could be me, could be you. Then there are people that large funds, like investment funds. If not investment funds, then they're billionaires or millionaires or whatever. They're buying land because it's part of their portfolio. They have their gold, they have their precious metals, they have their whatever investments they have, and land is just one other investment for them. And so they're gonna come looking for land. I mean, any way you look at it, preppers want land. You're not going to be a prepper in Manhattan, downtown, anywhere. You need to move out. Land is, I don't see it going down in price, and I don't care, because I'm not looking to I'm not looking to ever not have land. Either I'll share it, or if this sells, I'll buy a bigger parcel if I can. Not right now. That's the reason why I'm even considering selling, is because we're in a position that someone that believes in what we're doing is willing to sell us a larger parcel of land, and larger parcels of land are hard to find, even in our province. So if I get the offer that I want, then I will buy that other one, and then there I will share my land with people that I will screen. Anyway, let me just show you the blue sky, and I have to go. It's getting a bit late in the afternoon. I have a lot to do. Nice talking to you. I'll come back to you maybe one day, and I'll tell you about what I want to do with my community if I ever get there. So in the meantime, let me see if I can. Let me put my glasses on. You see how blue the sky is? Unbelievable. And these flowers are still here despite being almost November. Unusual for us. This is how that's what I mean by it's getting warmer. Can't look. This is lettuce. Can you believe we still have lettuce here? Again, it's almost November. I mean, I cover it up at night in case we get frost. Laundry, still hanging laundry outside. I mean, yeah. I better get to work. I don't know how much time is left on this thing. But I'm glad you're here. The mushroom's still growing here. Where is it? Where is your viewfinder? Yeah, just sharing with you my experiences, my knowledge over the time that I've been here, and hope these are helpful to you. And there's no commercials or ads here, as you can see. Share it with your friends or family or relatives, and come back and watch it again if you want. There's, right, like I said, there's no, as far as I see, there's no benefit to me if you watch it or you don't watch it. You share it or like it or click on the ring or whatever, or you don't. Oh, and that's celery, that green you see in the sort of a somewhat shady raised bed down there. Still growing. And next to it is comfrey. All right, folks. Good being with you. Until we talk again. Goodbye.